So where are you from and how'd you get started?
Hey, thanks for calling. I started back in 1982 officially. I mean, I really always wanted to be in radio. I tell the story on my website when they put my bio up there, that I was in kindergarten in 1969 at Medaille School, and our teacher, Sister Donna Marie, was kind enough to take a class of 4 and 5-year-olds to a radio station.
Ooh,
And it was WEBR, which is a station that kind of exists now, but not certainly the way it did. And I remember walking into that studio, not really understanding radio. Here's my concept of radio back when I was in kindergarten, that there was a band that played a song, and then that band left and the next band came on and played their song. That was my logic of in kindergarten of how radio worked.
okay.
So when I saw how radio worked, I was just like, ooh, we all have that sort of moment where we go, wow, what was that? Could be a car. It could be, a location, a trip we took, but that was me. And I knew somehow from that point forward, I was going to definitely be involved in radio. And so
You're saying you discovered you wanted to be a DJ when you were 5 years old.
I didn't know what a DJ was, but I wanted to work in that place. I wanted to work in the place with the tubes and the levers and the microphones and people talking. And it was really cool.
Cool.
So I really liked that. So fast forward to, finishing up high school and got to make some decisions here. And I wanted to, it's tough to put together a radio career and a college career together, because that's a lot of money to invest in it. But the idea was that I get a good college education. So if the radio thing didn't work out, you had a backup. So fast forward to, there's a couple schools, 3 or 4 schools that I was looking at, and a couple of them said no, and then a few others said, oh sure, and one of them was the University of Dayton, which is where I ended up going. So I'm a Dayton Flyer, and the reason I went there was very simple. The University of Dayton owned a 50,000 watt FM radio station, which was not a normal college radio station. You're saying, oh, some kids come in there and they put on a t-shirt, talk to their buddies in the dorm. No, this had a professional paid general manager, not a student, professional paid program director, not a student, professional paid sales team that made their living on sales, traffic department. But the students were on air, save were all the people on air were all students, save for the morning man, who was the paid program director, and the music director, who had the afternoon shift. So I got myself on there in the first year, and I was doing news in the afternoon. I think it started maybe December, January, around that time of my freshman year, and I worked all the way through. And by my beginning of my sophomore year, I had a regular shift, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 p.m. So I was the evening disc jockey and got to do all sorts of stuff. But while I was doing all that, the radio station would have their announcers, as most radio stations do, read commercial copy. Sometimes it's starting at the theater near you this Friday, back when people only could go to theaters. And then I got to do some other spots, and sometimes the clients were kind of fun. They let me, they let us be creative. Well, I had a shift in production, so I worked 2 or 3 hours a day. So I would do, I'd dub over commercials from reel to reel and put them on carts. But then you'd get commercial copy, and they let you be creative with it. That's where the lightning bolt hit for voiceover. I'm like, oh, I can write, I can do voices. I love making sound effects and music and all this other stuff. And I became quite known for it at the station, to the point where clients would hire me to do their spots, pay me additionally versus the fee that I was normally getting, and then take my spots and put them on other stations, for which I got remunerated again.
Ooh.
So that was kind of when I went, oh, that's cool. And I'd really like that, but it was fun, but I also realized at some point I needed to get a real job, because I got some radio jobs after graduating, and the pay was pretty bad. And to think now it's even worse. But it was bad in 1986. So so I got another jobs, but I always did voiceover along the way. One of the first things I did was start a video production company with my high school video teacher. And we did that for 6 or 7 years. And we produced videos. And so I'd narrate some of that stuff, or I would hire the voice talent, and some of the disc jockeys that I would hire in the Buffalo market to do the stuff. That, I'd give them some direction. They'd be like, what? I said, yeah, I don't want your radio voice. I need this kind of voice. And they're like, they thought that was kind of cool. They were like, wow, okay, thank you. I can do that. So anyway, voiceover was always a part of that, going back through all the different jobs and tasks, because you're not going to make a King's Ransom in voiceover in Buffalo, New York, to this day, or Raleigh, North Carolina. You're going to have to be in New York or LA. Some people say Chicago, and I have lovely agents in Chicago, hi Big Mouth. But no, I'm not in those cities, and didn't want to be. So, so voiceover was about creating awareness. Around that time, thank goodness, the internet popped up, and suddenly we got the AOL dial-up. Some people won't know what that is, but but those of us of a certain age will remember. We first signed into our first AOL account and heard a noise we'd never heard of before and thought we broke our computer.
Right.
I think we all remember that.
Yeah.
Oh God, what did I do wrong? Uninstall. And it was, and then we went on from there. And so when the internet came on, business changed. How you marketed yourself changed. We may talk about marketing here today. I don't know what the show's about.
Maybe a stitch.
Maybe a stitch. But then everything sort of opened up for us and around the world. And it became really, really fun. And then I'll stop there, and then I can tell you how, voiceover for me changed a little bit and became even broader scoped. But I don't want to take 10 minutes answering a question.
No, it's good. It's good for everybody to hear, because everybody's voiceover journey is different. And now that it's 2023, and now that I've been, doing the VO strategist coaching thing for over 10 years now, and I did my first voiceover in 1996, the landscape has changed dramatically, and the changes keep coming faster and faster. And we as voice actors need to adapt more and more. I think an interesting something interesting I got out of it is that you have the infrastructure of radio as your entry into the voiceover industry. Other people have other ways of doing it. For what's happening in 2023, that infrastructure that is radio, it still exists, but not even as remotely as spread out or prolific as it is, because now I think it was at the Telecommunications Act of 1996 that really changed radio forever, and not in a good way.
I think it goes back even farther, and I'm not going to remember. I'm sure that didn't help, but the point where I kind of went, even as a young person, I went, oh, this is going to change things, was, I believe it was in the Reagan administration. There used to be a limit that a company could own, and historians, please forgive me, 7 radio, 7 AM, 7 FM, and 7 TV. Right. And then Reagan, no, you don't need those limits, thanks. Boom.
Right. And then everything changed. So
then everything changed because, because then what that meant for those, the younger viewers out there, is that means that, that mom and pops who are maybe not doing so well, who wanted to get out of the market, wanted to be bought out, and major corporations who wanted to, buy into a market could more easily do so. They weren't hamstrung anymore for television or AM or FM. That was great. And then as we delved into the 90s, when internet came in, that was another kind of seismic shift. And what could that mean? Well, for audio production, for radio production, it allowed things to be even more automated than they already were. It brought along the opportunity for electronic audio editing instead of reel-to-reel machines. Suddenly everything was digital, and there was software out there that allow you to do that. And everything kind of just became seismic from there. So from a radio perspective, the jobs became smaller, and because radio stations would not bother bother with people because they're expensive. And they have somebody do one show out of Ottumwa, Iowa, and somebody would insert a radio call letter jingle, and
Mhm.
it would just be all very generic and pre-recorded. That's a
Right.
really, really brief and poorly surmised
That is okay.
explanation of how that all happened.
So tell us now, you consider yourself a full-time voice actor, but you
I
also,
got this. I got to be full-time. I got to pay for this. That's
right?
already paid for.
But also, I know I've known you for a very long time. You
Yeah.
also travel the country as is it safe to say marketing consultant? Would that be the right
No,
title?
I have a marketing business, and I've been working with clients for a long time, one client in particular. So that's, it's pretty terrific. But it's I've been doing marketing. I've had my business for a long time. And the industry has changed, and of course, because of my marketing background and sales and marketing background, and I'll always do that. That's just who I am and what I am,
Mhm.
as part of what I do. It really has evolved, and it's really evolved from a voiceover standpoint as well.
Oh, yes.
I know that a lot of people obviously here are very focused on their voiceover business, but what you can learn from other marketing channels from other industries, there are oftentimes applications to voiceover.
Yeah.
So just watching some of that change has been really something of interest to me, because I
Mm.
think, I mean, it's ever evolving. We're all having to deal with it, and there's a little bit of everybody making it up as they go along. There is
Mhm.
no very similar to. I think very similar to the voiceover journeys you referenced that everyone takes. One marketing size does not fit all.
Right.
And because so many people in voiceover are voiceover actors, they are not marketers. They
Right.
don't understand business. And
Right.
some of them, I think, are certainly a lot of the new folks that I've talked to over the years. And again, doing this 40 years, you talk to a lot of people. They don't understand that they're starting a business when they get
Right.
into voiceover.
Right.
It's not just you sit on your couch and wait for the phone to ring. And I've said this for years. Others have said this for years. And yet there are people still on the couch waiting for the
Yeah.
phone to ring.
Well, here's what I've learned in my 10 plus years of coaching the business and marketing side, is that voice actors who are early in their journey have certain expectations. They expect that based on their talent, and then the fact that they produced a demo,
Yeah.
that they will get discovered, get their lucky break, or something like that. And what I've learned is that the four words that will ruin your voiceover marketing are breaks, competition, connections, and luck.
Yeah.
And the thing that those four things have in common, and all of those are outside external forces that you're waiting upon to relieve you the responsibility
Yep.
of taking true control of your voiceover career in general and your marketing in particular, when
Yep.
all the things that you really need to do to move your voiceover business forward in general and your marketing efforts in particular is all internal. Developing your understanding of marketing, your understanding of the voiceover industry, your understanding of self on a talent level, on a skill level.
That's all right.
And
We'll edit that out in post. No one
that's
will
fine.
ever see it.
Right. Understanding what your limitations are as a voice actor, both when it comes to genre and your comfort level with technology, your comfort level with social media, your comfort level with writing, all of those things, and then trying to figure out, based on what your strengths and limitations are and your understanding of the industry, how you can move forward. So throwing cold water on the heads of most people who are very early in their journey about, when it comes to marketing, no one's going to do it for you. You do have to figure it out for yourself, but there are a
Right.
lot of resources out there.
Well, I
So
think the other thing that's important there, and you were touching on it, is sort of researching and finding out who you are as a voiceover talent and who you are as a performer.
mhm,
I will share one of my flaws as a performer. I am not an audiobook narrator. I have tried it and
mhm,
I did not like it.
okay,
So I don't have the tolerance, the patience, or maybe even the talent to be an audiobook narrator. Nothing wrong with audiobook narrators. Some of them are my friends. Some of them may be even in this camera, that I'm looking at here. So that's all fine. But you have to kind of, I think, as you're identifying yourself, what as a voiceover talent, find out what that niche feels like. Sometimes when you're early on, you're not going to know. That's okay. You got to develop. That takes time. But say you're 2 or 3 years in, or even a year in, you have a better sense that, boy, I really have a knack for character, or I really have a knack for video game, or I really have a knack for promo, any one of the genres. And then really understanding from there who your audience is. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so let's say, for example, you are going to be, you really feel strongly about broadcast promo. Okay, you feel that you really have the pipes, and you offer something different, something that stands out from a performance standpoint that will really get a viewer's attention from either a local affiliate, or go for it, national opportunity that you really think is going to work out. So who is your audience? Stop, think, stop, drop, and roll. Stop and think. This is where the business part of marketing kind of starts. Once you know who you are as a performer, doesn't mean you can't be other things. It just means you're kind of focusing. You're trying to. You got to start somewhere, right? You got to pick somewhere.
Right.
So if I were to ask Tom, what's the best way to begin, figuring your marketing out from a audiobook perspective, his answers are going to be significantly different than if I say, what are the answers going to be for trying to figure yourself out as a broadcasting promo specialist.
Big time.
So in this example, and this is just an example, and it could be a short one, because everything we're going to talk about has a lot more to go into than what we're going to cover here today. But for the purposes of this, if you were going to be in broadcast promo, you'd probably want to stop and think about who your audience is. More than likely, your audience, your most opportunistic audience, is going to be at a local affiliate level. You're going to start at the local affiliate level versus the networks. Doesn't mean you can't start at the networks, but this is assuming that you are an individual without necessarily representation. You have to market yourself out to these folks, and you have to get your first couple of gigs. It could be radio, it could be television. So if it's going to be radio, you're probably going to want to focus on those people that hire you for these jobs. And in radio, that's going to be either the program director or the creative services director, depending on the size of the radio station. Same sort of thing in television. You're going to talk to the program director or the promo, more often not the promo or creative services director at a television station. Again, local affiliate. Why is that valuable for you? It's valuable for you because there are oodles of local radio and television stations versus a much smaller pie for national, even cable networks. Now, granted, when I was a boy, there were no cable networks, and there were 4 channels: ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS, and maybe fifth one, maybe you had an independent. There was no Fox network at the time.
Yeah, that was 85 or 86.
Yeah,
87.
so I mean, we're talking, it wasn't that long ago that, and cable came up and everything. HBO, wow. It was a whole big thing. Now HBO is like, they throw that in. They just
we will get to your questions in just a moment, and then I've got a story after Peter.
I'm sorry. But so when you're going after these guys, you've given yourself a bigger pond to fish in. So that's why I use this example.
Right.
And so you're going to try and find these folks. How are you going to try and find them? There's a variety of ways to do that. I will stop here and say, do you want me to talk a little bit about that, or do you want to go into another area?
Yes, but not yet. So I'm going to give you a little story. About, what I think, to rephrase, to condense what you were saying, listen to the industry, because the industry will often tell you where you should place yourself and how you should market yourself. Just in the past couple of months, I booked 3 gigs very, very close to each other within a couple of weeks of each other. And all of them were recruitment ads. commercials, radio commercials, like the Maryland Department of Transportation is looking for great people like you. Come on down to the Civic Center on the 14th at 4:00 and bring your resume. We'd love to find out what you can do. Da, 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 da. I got like 3 of those for 3 different clients.
Yeah.
And I'd never booked anything like that, spots like that before. I was like, oh, that was interesting. And then also around the same time, I also booked 3 spots back to back to back with 3 different clients. All of them were, well, they're not exactly tags, maybe end cards. Like there was one for Cousin Subs. I don't know if you know that sub. It's in Wisconsin. It's a Wisconsin sub chain.
Sure.
And the guy goes to the counter and he's not sure what to get. And one customer say, get this. And another was saying, get that. And the lady behind the counter said, get both. And at the very last end, I'm like, sometimes it is hard to decide what to get at Cousin Subs. Come on down and figure it out. So I just did it was a 30-second television commercial, but I only came in at the last 5 seconds with the voiceover.
Right.
And I got like 3 of those. Royal Bank of Canada was another one, back to back to back. Also, I had never gotten anything like that before either.
And these are all coming to you individually or through representation?
They all came through Voice 123.
Okay.
All of them did. And I was like, oh, that's all very interesting. So what I did as a result of that is I got the finished spots. I chunk them down into the MP3. I created demos, short demos for both of those, and I uploaded those samples to my website and to my other casting sites. Yeah. So now I have found, the industry told me that there's a new way to market myself. So have you ever had an experience like that?
Yeah, yes, in many ways. And the other thing I'm thinking is, as you're talking about what you're doing there, is the other thing I want to tell you to do is share that demo with maybe some producers that just to let them know that this may be a genre coming up.
Right.
It's a great opportunity.
This is a marketing.
Yes. It's a great opportunity to reach out to folks, to have something new to share with them, right? Because you have something to talk about, right? Something of value, and it directly relates to their business. So you're not just hitting with the old email. Hi, I'm great, and I did this, that, and the other thing. It's like, no, listen to this. This is the thing that's happening now. So
I tell my students that that's what's called demonstrating value and progress. If you're going to market, if you're going to send out something, make sure it's either demonstrating your value, your progress, or both.
I'm going to charge you for that piece of advice I just gave you, by the way, just to be very clear. You'll get the check in the mail.
Let's go to our first question. Pat. Hello, Pat. Pat says, okay, so Peter, well, most of these questions are for you unless they say it specifically for me. What is your best piece of marketing advice?
My best piece of marketing advice. I don't have a best piece. I don't, because, and I don't mean it in a joking way either. I mean, there's a lot of different things I would say. Obviously, as a voiceover, I assume this is as a voiceover talent.
Yes.
I'm going to assume that's the question. So obviously it all starts with a really good demo, because that's the calling card of every voiceover talent. So again, knowing your business, knowing your niche, as we talked about just a few minutes ago, whatever that is, whether it's commercial, narration, explainer videos, promo, whatever. So that starts there. Having a really good website that is search engine optimized. I would highly recommend that. And I would think that would be extremely valuable for you. And from going on from the website, social media and all the rest of it. So all that said, where marketing, the real core of marketing begins and ends for me is in your database. I have screamed from the rooftops for 150 years. That's how old I am. That you have to have a good database. It really is the core of your business, more than your demos and your websites and your social media and your blogs and your YouTube videos and all the rest. Why? How can I dare say that? Because ultimately, if you're putting out a video here or there, that's great. Some people may see it. It may go viral. Wow, great. That happens. Not very often, though. If we're being honest, it does not happen very often. But if you have a database of qualified people, that's a place where you can build a business. That goes back to when I spoke about just a few minutes ago about saying, know who your audience is. We talked about the television and radio program directors and creative services directors. You have to go out and find those people. LinkedIn is your friend. You can there are some directories you can buy, all well and good, but I'm going to assume many of the people looking for marketing advice might not necessarily have a huge marketing budget.
Right.
So I'll start there. If you have a huge marketing budget, please call me. But but if you if you're just starting out, going through LinkedIn is a great way to develop that database. Now, I'm not saying to spam people. Let's back up here.
Right.
What you want to do, and this is what I've told people for a long time, if you're a voiceover talent, if you do nothing else for your day, if you get up in the morning at 7 a.m., go to bed at 10 o'clock, you get a good night's rest and start the day again. The one thing you need to do every single day is try and find yourself a qualified lead. One a day. You do that once a day. Say you're just starting out. You got a regular job. Oh, I got a lot of things to do. Oh, I'm going to do it. I don't have time. And you can probably spend 10 to 15 minutes on your business, just finding that one qualified lead. Something as simple as going on LinkedIn and finding out information on the person, not just the name and the title, and you get the address and the phone number. All that goes into your database, by the way, whether it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, an index card, or it goes into something smarter like an Excel spreadsheet that has first name, last name, business address, all the rest of it. I'm sure that's been covered on this.
Or a CRM like Close or Nimble or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I'm not trying to spend people's money, so most everybody's got some sort of Google database, something like that.
That's cool.
But however they want to do it, start there, and then we can talk a little bit later about how you reach out to them and the proper way to insert yourself into their lives without being a real pest. But all of those things, the database is probably more important than anything else. But you got to do those other things too, the demos and the website and those things, because your competition is already there. Right. And if you're going to be taken seriously, you have to at least look like you belong at the dance.
Right. So I think you said strong demo, strong website, strong social media presence, strong database. Yeah.
Database first, probably. I mean, demo and database, because if you don't have a demo, you have nothing to send to the database. Right. But if you don't have a database, who are you going to send the demo to?
Okay, so demo and database have a
D&D. Oh, wait a minute, that's another from college. That's entirely.
Our dear friend Roxanne Hernandez Coyne.
I haven't seen her in so long, but now I see she's marketing herself on video, and I'm seeing all these videos popping up, and I'm so glad she's out there.
Yeah. So
Hi,
Roxanne,
nice to see you.
It's always lovely to see our buddy Roxanne. She has lots of great questions. So the first one is, any tips for getting clients to write testimonials or give you reviews on Google?
I'm not big on Google reviews. I haven't done that because and that's a personal problem with me. It has nothing to do with anything else, except I'm like, my cousin could have wrote that. I kind of look at that kind of funny. But I have great advice on how to reach out to get references and testimonials from clients. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Call and ask them. I know. I know.
That's so old school.
But think about the value of it, though. Think about what you're doing. Now, certainly, if you've had a problem with a client, if I have to tell you this, don't call them for the reference. But if you had a good client, and most of your clients are great, I know no one's ever really mad at us. But you can reach out to them. And it's a great opportunity to touch base about hey, how are you? I want to tell you some of the things I'm doing. Any new business coming up? That's fine. Hey, I was wondering, I'm doing something. If you're comfortable with it, I'd really like if you could. You seem to really like the work we did in the past. Could you write me a recommendation? I'm talking a couple lines that I can post on my website, or if people know about it. Would that be okay? 9 out of 10 times they will do it. I had one guy say he would do it, and he kept saying he would do it. It would take him 2 or 3 months. He was just that busy. He ended up writing me, I had to chase him down just very gently, every 3 weeks and say, how are we doing on that reference? If you can't do it, it's okay to tell me. But I got a great reference. And so, that's to me the best way to get those folks, because you're doing a couple things. I was about to say you can never reach out to your clients too much, but I know that's a dangerous thing to say.
It is, yes.
You should try and reach out to past clients 1 or 2 times a year by phone if possible. You
Yeah.
really should, just to touch base. And if they say nothing's going on, you're not going to piss them off that much. And if they
Right.
don't want to take the call, they don't have to take the call.
Right.
But you're reaching out to them, and this way you're reaching out to them and just saying, having a nice conversation.
Right.
So that's where I think that that
Cool.
has some value for you to do
Okay.
that.
Her next question is, how about SEO?
Wait a
What's
minute,
good-
how many questions does she get?
She
How many?
gets until someone else types in, she gets
No,
them
that's
all. She says, how about SEO? What's a good place to start getting a website up to speed without spending an absolute fortune? What might be the best things to outsource for SEO optimization? And I've got something that can help with that too, but I'll
all
let
right.
you
Well,
answer it first.
and then I'll look to your answer on that, because the way I've always done SEO optimization is I've read online and I've talked to experts that I know and trust.
Okay.
So I've always found with SEO, I feel like SEO can can be a little bit of snake oil, as sold by some people.
Yes.
So my personal way has always been to try and work with people I know, vendors I trust. And if you don't have any vendors, that's a little bit more difficult. But your friend Tom has a resource for you. He's going to share with you now
Right.
that he's used to help people get their SEO up and running.
Okay. Blogging.
Mhm.
Now, think about this. You have your website, tomdeer.com, Peter O'Connell, RoxanneHernandezCoin.com. And usually it's one page, like especially the trend with scrolling websites for a mobile experience. So it's more, so the trend is, have a one-page website, which has your demos, a little bit about yourself, ways to contact you, maybe some featured YouTube videos, social media links, contact, right? Every time that you write a blog, when you post that blog, when you publish that blog, rather, it creates an additional page on your website. That page, if you're writing about voiceover, will say voiceover, voice acting, and all the genres and all that stuff. So it'll have a lot of keywords related to the voiceover industry organically. And if you're talking about this or you're talking about that, another company, a website, a product, or a service, you're posting a link in that website. That link goes to their website. Once you're creating links from your website to other websites, it creates a little synergistic relationship. So I started blogging in 2008.
Yep.
I had been blogging once a week, anywhere from once a week to once a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. But I have well over 600-700 blog entries, which means tomdeer.com, and then after that, vostrategist.com, which each has their own blogs.
Mhm.
Each of those websites are 600 or 700 pages.
Yeah.
They're massive. And all of them are dripping with voiceover related
Ew.
content.
Ew.
Dripping, my
Ew.
friend, like a melting ice cream sundae.
Oh.
Bec-
I just went and checked my website, and I have the peterkoconnell.com, which is also tied into audioo'connell.com.
Mhm.
You just Google Peter O'Connell, you'll find me on there. But I also have a blog called Vox Marketizing, where I talk about voiceover marketing and advertising. And
Mhm.
it looks like my first post was in May of 2005.
Okay.
So
and how often have you been blogging?
I blog pretty often. There's actually some time I took off because it felt like the blog wasn't getting as much interaction, or people weren't paying attention to it. I think it goes in lulls, quite honestly. But there's new stuff up there. Has been up there for some months. I've been a little bit more active about it.
Mhm.
I also, this is the self-doubt comes in many forms in all of us, but I feel like I've said this before, like I'm repeating myself on certain things with
That
blogs.
happens, especially if you
And
have been at it for a while.
oh my gosh. And I'm like, I'm going to come away like, a
Right.
goofy old guy.
Okay. I've got two bits of advice for you on that, Peter.
All right. I'm not going to pay for them. I'm telling you right now. I'm
Well,
just letting you know.
that's fair. Number one, if you want to talk about a subject again, you post that blog, but you say, a few years ago in this blog entry, I talked about this. In the 4, 5, 10 years since, my thoughts have evolved. Here's been in my experiences since then. And this is what I've learned since then, which either supports what I used to think, or it contradicts because of either I was wrong or the industry has changed or whatever. So you can talk about same subjects again, as long as you're Do backlinking, because if you're backlinking to yourself,
Yeah.
that helps your SEO.
I think that's a sin. I don't think you're allowed to backlink yourself, but that's okay.
Well,
Um,
you can do
you
it.
can. So
Um,
what about if the people that you wrote about 4 years ago are still making the same stupid mistake? How do you write that? Because that's some of the things I've had to do. You people were not listening when I wrote this 4 years ago, so I'm going to post it again.
Okay. Well, here's the other thing is that
I'm kidding.
I know you're kidding. One thing that I've also learned, especially now, is that search engine optimization used to be just about the strength of your website, right? And then Google, Bing, Yahoo would rank it accordingly in relation to other websites. But now all of the search engines are taking your social media presence into account. It's part of the calculation in determining the strength of your overall online presence, both website and social media. So one way to increase the page ranking of your website is to increase the quality and quantity of your social media content. They have a synergistic relationship, and your website should have your social media buttons on them, which link to your social media, and your social media profiles should have a link to your website. So you are cross-linking to both of them. So that can help out a lot.
And we won't even get into the explosion of video, which is our friend Roxanne is dealing with that right now. She's making all these new videos, which are wonderful.
Video is king. That's what king. SEO rewards video over everything else right now.
Which is upsetting to people who have a face for radio.
Well, so wear a mask.
Yeah.
She also asked, does anyone still use business cards? What would be a good marketing item to carry on yourself at conferences and other events? I have an answer for that, and then I'd love to hear yours. If
anyone's ever read my blog, they know how I feel about business cards.
Right.
I'm very pro business card.
Okay. So one thing that I have done is I don't remember who recommended it to me, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's either hap.io or something like that. And well, even that aside, QR codes were in for a while, and then they were out for a while, and now they are in again.
Yeah.
So one thing that I do, so like literally a couple of weeks ago at the Jacob Javits Center, which is just a few blocks from me here in New York City, there was the Build Expo, BILD Expo. So he's got the business card with the QR code on it. So, and
it's dinged up because it's been in my wallet. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. So when I went, so I knew that I was going to be interacting with a lot of people and reps and stuff at this Build Expo, which was sponsored by B&H Audio and Video. So it was this wonderful thing. So I generated a QR code, and that QR code, I kept it on my phone. So I keep it in Google Drive so I can call it up anytime I want. So if anybody wants to connect with me, I just hold up my phone. Everybody's got their phone in hand. They just scan my QR code. And depending on who I'm with or what the event is, whether I'm going as a voice actor or the VO strategist or both, I've got this, I think it's called hap.io. I got to find it. I'll post it in the, when this video is over, this streaming is over, it turns into YouTube and gets a permanent YouTube video. I will post the link. But it gives you it's like about.me, where you can have a whole bunch of links, or Linktree. It's like that, but you can format it. You can use a brand kit and customize the fonts and the colors and the format and stuff. So I do still have paper business cards, which I bring, but those are mostly to stick in the fish bowls for the, at the expos.
You think you're so cool, you kids nowadays.
Yeah, but I use both. I use that for that. And some people still want to have the physical card, but I also have the QR code available so people can quickly scan it and then they have that on their phone. So
and I agree. I understand that, and I don't disagree with it. I've teased Tom because we've known each other for decades.
He teases because he loves.
Yes, exactly. But I've always been a big stickler for business cards because I believe they do work. And I believe, and I want to point out something that I think is kind of a unique difference for Tom, is that he's talking about marketing specifically in this instance in New York City. Where technology it's not that in Kansas City they don't have this technology as well. Everybody has the technology, but I think in certain circumstances, for many businesses that you're going to run, you're going to want to have the electronic opportunity and you're going to want to have the paper opportunity
based on the culture of the event.
Yes, exactly right. And so that's why I created business cards with a QR code on them to make it as easy as you want. Don't want the card, just scan this, boom, done. Thank you very much. Let's go have a drink.
Right.
But it's being ready to have either one of those available as a marketing tool, because it's more than, with business cards and that kind of interacting, you're likely going to do a lot more networking as a voiceover talent in an American Marketing Association group, in an ad club. It doesn't mean that you're not going to go to the technology awards and meet new people who need audio for various things and voices. All I'm saying is, if one of the great things that a voice talent has that most businesses don't have is the talent, him or herself, and their voice, and being able to market that, and the interaction and the response we all get when we tell somebody we're a voiceover, and they, oh, I can hear that. I can just, I said, oh, did I sound too announcery? No, you sound great. And so that actually, with humility for all of us, is a great opportunity to say, well, here, how can I help you? Whether it's, of course, what we want is a national ad campaign. What we might get is a message on hold job. I don't care. I've done them all. I've worked for, like I said, Fortune 500 companies, and companies that think $500 is a fortune. I don't mind working with any of them, because the check clears and the mortgage gets paid.
Yes.
But it's incumbent upon us to be able to share our stories, whether it's through a card or being able to explain to people what we do in an interesting way. I say I'm your friendly neighborhood voiceover talent, which is kind of a tie-in to the old Spider-Man theme, which when I came up with it, the Marvel comics really hadn't blown up yet, as far as the movies. Spider-Man had, but not the movies. But however you position yourself, make yourself memorable. And it's more than a tagline. Okay. It is about you. I don't know too many voiceover talents. Again, we talked about the voice being important, but the other part of voiceover talents is usually, by and large, they do tend to, and most actors are this way, they do tend to have a bit of a personality. And it's usually a positive thing. Some are divas, and some are, real introverts, and it's really difficult for them. But most of them like to talk to other people. And if you're talking to an actor, oftentimes they like to talk about themselves. So my advice there is, remember, it's a two-way conversation. Some actors don't get that. But enough about me. What do you think about me? No, that's not the right way to go with that.
Paul Payton said, always be interested in what they're interested in.
Yes. And God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use accordingly. Listen. It is the greatest tool of a voice actor as a performer to be a great listener. It is a great tool as a business owner and as an owner of any business to listen, and certainly as a marketer to listen very closely as well, because a client will give you most of the answers that you're going to look for in life, in what you need for their business. You just have to listen for it. So talk less, ask good questions, and then listen.
Right. Roxanne asked specifically you, how much would it cost to work with a marketing company, and what type of services could you expect from working with a marketing company?
Well, generally, I mean, obviously for me, call me, we'll talk. And it depends. But what every voiceover company, or every marketing company should tell you is, it depends on exactly what you want to work for. Basically, it works in 2 ways. It works either on an hourly basis or a package basis. Every marketing company that I know of, whether they call themselves a marketing company, an advertising agency, an advertising and marketing company, an advertising, marketing, and dry cleaner, whatever they are, because I know a couple voiceovers that are dry cleaners too. So it's everybody's in the boat. But the opportunity there is to figure out what it is you want to achieve. And I tell this to people, whether it's marketing companies or agents, what is it you want to achieve? And the answer cannot be, I want more business. No, it can't be that, because marketing and advertising can't necessarily get you more business depending on your industry. Okay. They can create awareness, and they can try and develop a need or a perceived need. But in our area, we need to make sure people know that we're out there, and we need to make sure, more importantly, that the right people know that we're out there. Going
Mm-hmm.
back to what I said earlier about knowing your audience and knowing your niche. So taking the example that I used earlier, if I was in broadcast promo and I was going to hire a marketing company, I would say to them, my targeted audience is a creative service director or a promotions manager in markets, in broadcast markets 50 through 100. Or 100 through 175 if you want to start smaller. I want to find a way to reach them.
Mm-hmm.
How can you reach them? And marketing company, tell me what you think the best way to do that is. If you were a commercial voiceover talent, we're all commercial voiceover talents. If your focus for the purposes of this example were really about commercial production, commercial voiceover talent, you really wanted to be in spots. There's a couple audiences you want to go after. You want to talk to production houses, and then you want to talk to the commercial production division of a television station as
Mm-hmm.
well. So there's and some advertising agencies have media production departments, not as many as there used to be, but there are some that still do. And so my point in showing you the two difference between broadcast promo and commercial voiceover is
Mm-hmm.
that the audience changes. And so you need to have a focus on what you want to focus on. My advice further is to be as niche as you can be. And drill down that funnel beyond, we're out here and now we're here. And I'd like to try and get you into here because then you can really gauge results. Now, if you're out here, you have a lot more fish, but they might not be the right fish. Here, you're probably going to get the right fish in the right area and have a better idea of what that value is. And I think you should go into, I'm still trying to answer Roxanne's question because it's multi-part.
Sure.
Is that you need to really have a sort of budget in mind. You should, what am I willing to invest in my marketing from two aspects for the purposes of hiring a company. How much I'm willing to pay for a fee, and how much I'm willing to pay an agency fee, and how much am I willing to pay for the advertising or fees to actually get that into the market.
Mm-hmm.
And that could include production. It would include fees to advertise on certain, in certain things. Whether you trade show. Say you're going to be in a trade show, and you got to have a booth, and you got to have displays. There's expenses with all that. All
Right.
that's going to come out of your marketing budget. Whatever that is. And I'm not saying you're going to be in a trade show. I'm just using that as an example.
Sure.
But whatever it is, there's going to be a line items of fees that you're going to do, and that you're going to break that down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a fee from that.
Do you do Google ad? Do you pay for Google ads or Facebook ads? Or
No, because the pay to plays have made that ridiculously expensive. As niche down as you want to get. I think I don't think the value is there, because I think ultimately, and again, I have no research on this. This is just my gut, so I could be way wrong. But specifically for voiceover, and I also think there's better ways to spend your money than that. So maybe that's part of my bias, and we all have bias.
You can only go by your experiences too.
Yeah. And the way I look at it is, I think when it comes to Google ads and all the rest of that stuff, you're going too wide. You can go narrow, but it can get very, very narrow, but it gets to be too expensive for what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially if you're just starting out and you have a smaller budget, I think smaller is better. Anytime you can, as much as you can interact with your audience, the better. And by interact, I mean personally interact.
Right.
Versus just being out there and having the name squared away.
Right.
The other thing that I will say, that's on my website regarding the voiceover workshop, voworkshop.com, which I've had for 100 years, and I don't market it that strongly because there's so many coaches out there. I'm like, oh, people find me, and I like that better that way. But with voworkshop.com, I have on that page, at the bottom of it, there is a marketing planning template. So you can write your own marketing plan for the year. It's very simple. You can break it down. And if you have questions, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. Just give me a call. But you can start your own marketing planning where you don't necessarily have to get with an agency, or you can put together a plan and share that with a prospective agency saying, these are some of the things that I'd like to achieve, because this will allow you to really focus your time and effort on where you think the best audience for you is. Now, an agency, if they're a good agency, may be able to give you some insight saying, you might want to think about this from a little broader perspective. And granted, there are not too many agencies that I know of that are voiceover specific marketing. Even I don't necessarily do voiceover specific marketing for folks. I really don't, because it's, there's not that many people that have that much money to spend.
Right.
I got bills to pay. But there have been a few, and I've helped them out. And at the very least, I get them on their way to help write a plan for themselves, how to execute the plan for themselves, so they have a comfort level about what they're doing.
Right.
And so that they can go off for a year and know that every month they have this goal to achieve, and they have these things to do to get to that goal, whether it's production or action steps that they have to do, and they can do it every month. So they're at least moving everything forward. But if you take nothing else away from this, the one tip that I gave out earlier on, and I would highly recommend everybody do it, especially if you're just starting out, is figure out what your niche is, what your hot spot is, what you're really passionate about in voiceover. Understand what that audience is, and then spend some time on LinkedIn, 1 lead a day. By the end of the year, and I mean work weekends too, because it's 10 minutes, you'll have 365 leads if you've done it well. That database, I will guarantee you, is better than some voiceover talents who've been in this 5 and 7 years. I guarantee you, because they don't bother to do that.
Right. Okay. We've got time for one more question. Man, these hours always go quick, don't they?
I've never been here before, so I don't know.
That was maybe it was a rhetorical question.
I'm glad to be here, though.
Pat has another question. Opinion of using AI for marketing.
Wow. All right. Well, my opinion on AI right now is fairly negative. I don't trust the technology for marketing yet. I feel like that, and this may be an old man talking, and I'm not that old, but sometimes I feel like, no whippersnappers in your AI.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn and take your AI with you. But I see how it makes things simpler. I'm a guy who likes to control the marketing and control the message and control how it's sent out. I have automation, I email blasts and all the rest of it. We didn't even talk about that. But I understand the value of it. I'm not sold yet that it necessarily works. And I think for voice actors specifically, I think you miss an opportunity to possibly interact better and follow up faster with a person where you're more hands-on in the marketing. Now, I've said something very, very generic there about a very specific industry. We don't have time to go into the who's, what's, and where's of that. We'd be here another 2 hours.
Right.
But generally speaking, that's my feeling on AI. And you're a small business owner. You may want to work smarter, not harder. But also remember that you're also in the business, more than many businesses. You're in the business as a voiceover talent of building relationships with your clients. That's really important. And AI is a difficult way to do that. Not impossible.
Right.
Just difficult.
There are ways, and then there are ways. Some are more reliable than others.
I think Buddha said that. I think
probably.
Buddha was, yeah.
For example, I don't remember where I saw this. I think Tom Aglio, who is a full-time voice actor, but he also helps teach people about direct marketing. He posted a video about a girl who discovered that you could use Chat GPT to run searches and build and populate spreadsheets with companies and their contact information and the person, and the email and all that stuff, and what the job description is, and maybe a recent award or a project that's related to that company. So when you do a, human email, you can say, hey, and I really like the idea of that. The only problem with that is that as it is right now, currently constituted, ChatGPT and a lot of the other AI stuff is notoriously unreliable when it comes to data. It has been known to give you incorrect information on a variety of topics. So if you are going to do that, you got to vet it. And if you're going to vet it, I mean, if you want to do it to try to come up with a list of ad agencies in the Raleigh-Durham area, it could do that easily. Check the information, double check it, to make sure that they did win this award or they did produce that Nike spot, and then you can do it. So if you want to use
many better,
there are
so
better
many
ways to do it, but that
that
is a way to do it. Here's another thing that you could do is I use AI to help my blogging workflow. So for example, as the VO strategist, I shoot a video every month talking about a different subject. My October blog topic is, by the way, AI. I already shot that video, and I don't script the VO strategist blog anymore. I come up with a theme for every month. I come up with a subject. October is AI. The reason why it's AI is because I'm speaking at La Lapides New England Voiceover Summit and Showcase, and then I'm going to go to speak at Johnny Heller's audiobook narration retreat, and that is one subject that I'm going to cover.
Yeah.
So what I do is I record the video, and then I use Google's speech to text software, and it listens to the audio and it spits out the text. So I don't have to transcribe it.
And it's pretty good for you.
It works pretty good. Then what I do is then I'll go over to Hyperwrite, which is an AI, and I'll basically ask it to clean up and consolidate the verbiage, which then turns into the text of the blog, which is essentially everything that I said in the video, but just cleaned up and consolidated. Of course, you have to check it to make sure that it did everything that you asked it to do. But this is saving me a lot of time, and it's not forcing me to require on data that's questionable as a result of it being generated. So I'm not using it to generate content. I'm using it to,
as an editing tool.
As an editing tool for my content. So that's one of a number of positive use cases. But when it comes to AI for marketing, at this point, you got to be really careful because the data is unreliable. Hopefully there will be some form of state or federal or local legislation or oversight. So
that always works so well in every other category.
I said hopefully. Because also another problem with AI, which we don't have time to get into, is that it is harvesting data without the consent of the creators of the content, artists, writers, and all of that stuff. And that's a big
People should
problem.
Strike about that. They should really strike about that.
People should write letters. So that's a serious problem.
Terribly serious.
Yeah, it's a big problem. So eventually, hopefully someday, ChatGPT, OpenAI, and whatever else, the data that you're creating content from will be from content that is A, verifiably correct, and B, has the permission of the people who generated the original AI or book or song or whatever, and make sure that those people at the very least get some form of acknowledgement, if not compensation, for their contribution to that AI database. So Pat, it can have some use cases. I'm sure there's other positive, safe use cases other than one I just did to use it as a blog editing and workflow tool. But there probably are some other ways. Okay. Oh, look at that! It is 3:00. Wow, that time went fast. Peter.
Yes.
How can people find you if they do want to work with you as a coach and or marketing consultant?
Well, I feel like we should be mentioning Mark Scott's information here as I'm substituting for him, and he had a bit of an issue today, so I would feel
we will do that. Remiss. We're going to reschedule. I'm going to have one with him, so don't worry about that. I'll put his information in the YouTube comments. But how can people get in touch with you?
They can reach me at peterkoconnell.com. They can reach me via the Voiceover Workshop, where I do training for folks on voiceover, marketing, and technology. And you can reach me at workshop.com. That's how long I've been doing it. That domain was still available all those years ago.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
All right. Peter, thank you so much. You did this on very, very short notice. You were a fantastic guest. Everybody asked fabulous questions, and you gave very thoughtful, informed, detailed answers, which is exactly what everybody was looking for. So thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful questions. And thank you very much for watching this Ask Me Anything VO Strategist YouTube video. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Connect with me on Instagram and LinkedIn. If you'd like some help navigating the voiceover journey in the industry, go to vostrategist.com, book a free 15-minute consult, and hopefully I can help you navigate this wild and woolly thing that is the voiceover industry. All right. Thank you very, very much for coming. Thanks again, Peter. Everybody stay cool, stay safe, and happy voicing. Done.
Boink. All righty.